So in this video, I am going to show you how to launch an EC2 server so that you can practice logging in, getting connected, and then later I'll show how you can connect your EC2 instance to give permission to access different utilities in AWS, such as S3. So to get started, we're going to go to EC2. And once EC2 is loaded, it's as simple as clicking Launch Instance. Now, there's a lot of AMIs in here, a lot of Amazon Machine Images, which is what AMI stands for. Please do note that different images do cost money. So if you're just going in, trying things out, part of your free tier, it will tell you free tier eligible. And for our Linux machine, we're just going to choose a simple Amazon Linux 2 AMI. So I'll select that. Now, the image is what's being loaded onto the server. So this instance type is choosing the hardware specs of the server. Now, there's a lot of options here. There's so many, and this is just the T2 instance family. Now, there are a lot. These are all different instance families that you can choose from. Some of them are graphics, some of them are high in memory, some of them are high in CPU. The CPU would be under C, and then the G4 suite is good for graphics. And later on, I'll show how I uploaded my AMI to go onto a gaming computer in the cloud. But for now, we'll stick to free tier eligible, the T2 Micro. It will have 1 GB of RAM and 1 virtual CPU. It doesn't seem like a lot, but for our testing, it's just fine. Now there's a lot of details in here. I'm not going to go over every single one of them because they're not important for getting started. I'm actually going to leave this blank. But in the future, things to note. If you are launching an EC2 instance that has a rate of $1.70 an hour, and you want to know, how can I make it cheaper? You can always request a spot instance, but spot instances are a whole different topic of basically a market price of the instance. They take the the available instances that are not being used, and they offer them at a cheaper rate for whatever people are willing to pay, which is what this is. And if the price stays below, then the server is yours. But at any time that the price goes up, then that instance will start to disconnect, and there's a possibility you could lose everything that you've done on that instance if you choose spot. But we're on the free tier, so I'm going to leave it the same. There's some subnet options that you can choose from. That's not important right now. Eventually we'll get into VPCs. There's IAM roles, which we will go over in the next video. This is important if you want to access AWS services such as S3. You have to give permission via an IAM role. But for now, we'll leave it the same. So I'm just going to hit next. This is the storage, how much you have. So your hard drive on the virtual server will be 8 GB, and it'll be the root volume under DEV XVDA. We'll leave that the same, but it is as simple as clicking an additional and then choosing the volume type. You can type in a custom amount. You can put as much as you want. You could put, I want a terabyte, or you can go even higher, but you do get charged. And there is something worth noting, that this root volume, this is not persistent. So when you shut down your server, anything that you put on this volume will go away with it. Now, we can go into it later and how to actually save that data, but for now we'll leave it. So then we'll go to tags. If you remember before, this is just labeling. So I'll put name my test server, just so I can keep records of it later. Then security groups. This is pretty important. This is the different ways that you can connect to your server. But for now, I'm just going to leave it the same, because SSH, if you remember, is how we're going to connect in. And there's the port, the protocol, and then from where. This is anywhere. Anybody can connect in. So we'll leave it just like that. So I'm going to hit review and launch. Now, we discussed your PEM files, your access keys to get into the server, and we'll see that in just a moment. And here it is. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to create a new one so that we can assume that you don't have an access key. So I'm going to choose create a new, and then we'll call it my demo key pair. Then I'll hit download. I'm just going to put it on my desktop. Then I'm going to hit launch. I'm going to pause the video. If I come back to the view instances, you will see that it's launching. Now I'm going to pause the video. It's going to take about a minute or two, and I'll show you what we're looking for when we come back. We can see that the instance state is running and status checks came back healthy. That means we're ready to connect. Now down below, we'll see some useful information about the server, and we'll show what's important here. So the availability zone that it's located in is US1B, which is okay because all the resources I use is in US East 1, and there's just different subdivisions of US East 1. There's A, there's B, there's C, but that's not important right now. What is important is this IPv4 public address. This is what we're going to use to connect. I'm going to show you how. Now, as I open up my terminal, I'm going to go and find my PEM file. Now, I happen to know where it's at. It's actually on my desktop. So I'm going to cd desktop, which is change directory. Now, I'm going to go over file permissions with you very briefly because it's important when connecting to your EC2 server. If I try, first, let's just confirm that my PEM file is here. So if I do ls grep.pem, there it is. There's my demo key pair. Now what I'll try is by going to ssh-i for identity, and then I will type in my demo key pair EC2 user at the IP address. It's not going to work. Why? Because my demo key pair has bad permissions, and I'll show you how we can fix that. We can change the permissions level of that file by doing something simple as chmod 400 my demo key pair. There's going to be no feedback, so let's try this again. Clear it out. SSH identity my demo key pair EC2 user at connect. There we go. Now we're in.